What did you focus on those first couple of years to really kind of build your business? And was it success or was it up and down or was it some failure in there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there was I would say that I didn't focus as much as I could have focused until probably about 2007 or 8. So the first year I was on that other team, I was on the team with the guy who got me into the business, and he was big Mike Ferry guy. So it was literally all cold calling. Like I remember I would cold call the phone book, dude. I would go hand out like flyers at apartment complexes, and then the manager would call me and be like, come over here and clean up all these flyers because they're blowing all over the place. Like I did open houses, at just everything, sign calls, whatever. Then when I moved to KW, it was more of the same, really. I would cold call expireds and FISBOs. But honestly, like building relationships. So I built relationships with agents in the office. I mean, that was when KW was small here. So like when I joined the office, there were only 40 agents. And so I just went to all of the classes. And so the experienced agents would see that I was a hustler. And so I remember some of my clients that have bought several houses from me now were like hand me down leads, like, hey, I don't want
Yeah.
to go sell this $100,000 house. So give me a referral fee. And I was like, thank you. Like my expenses were like probably $1,500 a month. And it was like, hey, if I could sell $100,000 house, like I was doing just fine.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's how I built it. Then I got into internet leads. I joined another team, probably 2007 ish. And we were doing internet leads, kind of on the bleeding edge. I mean, I always joke when people complain about internet leads now, because back then we had two websites. We had a condo website and a house website. Okay. And so that was pretty much the only thing when we first started getting them. That was the only thing I knew, is if it came from the condo website, then at least they were looking for a condo. So I could say, hey, I saw you were on our website looking for condos. And if they came from the house website, and then over time it evolved, but it's like what we have today, where it's like, every property that they looked at, and like it automatically sets a search up. I mean, I was using pieces of printed paper that had their names on it. Like I had a binder, and I was just like filling those out. And so yeah, and I built my business off of internet leads, and I, basically all the way through. Then that was my main source of not mets. I did the open house thing pretty consistently. I wasn't great at it back then. I would say I'm way better at it now. But I think just staying consistent with motion, and sometimes that's a bad word, but I feel like all too often new agents, they want to treat their time the same way as a mega agent, meaning like they're so worried about whether they're spending time doing the best activities, and then they end up doing like nothing for 90% of the time, and it's just not good for your psyche. And so
Yeah.
standing at an open house, if I get to run into three people, because back in 2010, 8, 7, like you might sit at a 2-hour open house and get like one person that comes through, or two
That
people
was
that come through.
that was like a good day.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but the practice that came from those, in terms of having those conversations with people, recognizing the tire kickers versus the serious people, like it just, like you said, like we were talking before, when you don't spend that much time reflecting on this stuff, but when you do, you realize that, all of those things, whether they worked or didn't work, as long as you're committed to seeing it through to the end, they all played a part in helping you become, what
Yeah.
eventually, hopefully, is successful, right?
And you said something so important that I try to talk to as many agents about, and I think it's like it's one of those things where I think it goes in one ear and out the other, and that's like just be in the office. Obviously, I know things these days are a little bit different. A lot of people work from home, but I remember one of the best clients I ever got. was from an agent across the hall when I was at Keller Williams, and it was on a foreclosure. She showed him the home. He rolled up in a motorcycle, and she didn't feel safe, right? Like, she just didn't get that vibe. She's like, "Hey, John, you want to work?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll work it. $40,000, cash buyer, investor, whatever." I think over the years, I think he's probably bought or sold 10, 12, 14 homes through me. And you had those opportunities, right? And like, as agents, it's just being around the business, being around other agents, like, volunteering your time to help some of those top producers that are in your brokerage or in your office, because they will give you those opportunities. And yeah, they may not be like that golden egg, right? But if you work it, you're gonna learn a lot by having just those opportunities. Whereas if you didn't go into the office and people don't know who you are, you know, you may miss out on a lot.
Yeah, I mean, so I actually was on another team for a short time, which I learned a lot on there. But then the way that I got onto the team with the internet leads was she had a bunch of internet leads and didn't have anybody to take them. So I was given two splits, right, on these leads. But for me, it was about the experience. So my whole philosophy when I didn't have kids and I was like hustling during that time was, number one, I just wanted to do better this year than I did last year. And that's not necessarily a philosophy that I would recommend everybody go into life with. But in some ways, it's like I heard, I don't know if you've ever listened to Alex Hermosi, but he
Yeah,
has a
yeah.
podcast and he's like I think he's worth like $200 million and he's 32 years old, but he just released one that I happened to pop on yesterday. And he was talking about how your 20s are just all about like meeting the right people and putting yourself in situations where you can learn the most to prepare yourself to earn the most, like when you get into your late 20s and early 30s. And so that's like, I don't know that I was as purposeful as I'm describing it to you back then. But when I look back, like that's really my actions were in line with that it was like, hey, I'm just going to take these leads because they might turn into something. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh, you can convert these, like come join my team. And then I closed 42 buyers in 1 year. I think that was in 2010. And then decided to go out on my own after that. But it was like, everything came because I was doing something that on paper wasn't going to make me, it wasn't something that was in a book, like go work internet leads for what, probably 40% or 30% or whatever that was, go hustle, and call them 17 times just to get 30%, then drive them around to the 20,000 homes that were on the market in 2010, and deal with them. But it all sets you up, to build a big business. I created that skill that then I was able to bring people onto my team and teach them that. And then, that leads
Well,
to 1,500 past clients.
I mean, a couple things there. One, you taking over internet leads was better than you calling in a phone book. Your
Yep.
conversion percentage was probably way higher,
Yeah, exactly.
with that, but you cut your teeth doing the hard thing, and then it just got easier for you, right? And then the second thing is like 42 deals in 2010. I hope you guys, just put that in perspective of the Columbus market. I think our average sales price in 2011 when I got in was like 150, right? So we're not talking $350,000 homes or a $300,000 average sales price today and still getting the 30%, after splits and all that. And then factor in time, because back then we would show one client 10 homes in a weekend,
Yeah.
or in a day,
Yeah.
because
Sometimes those were those days. And, yeah, 5 in Hilliard, 3 in Worthington, 2 in Delaware. Like, yeah, because you could, yeah. So anyway, sorry I interrupted you.
no, no. I mean, I think sometimes, it's good to have that perspective because, I see it from time to time. Agents get in and they're like, oh, internet leads, this, that, or whatever. And I'm like, look, it's an opportunity, right? Like at the end of the day, all we need as agents are opportunities. How many opportunities can we produce every single day? It doesn't matter how it comes, but which ones are we, going to focus on, and what are we going to go after day in and day out? But so